from above. His glowing eyes released beams of light, striking the zombies below. A moment later, he dropped back to the ground with tremendous speed and stomped the street. The ground cracked open beneath him, and several zombies fell into the broken gaps. Then a giant zombie monster appeared. The child looked up at it and smiled. He stretched one arm toward the giant and held his hand as if he were grabbing it from a distance. Suddenly, the giant lifted into the air, as if an invisible force had seized it. The child raised his hand higher, controlling the giant without touching it. Then he threw the monster upward into the sky. It shot into the darkness like a flash and disappeared into space. "Enough," the child said. At once all the zombies stopped. Their faces changed. They looked guilty and frightened. One looked down at the ground. Another looked away. One turned his head in the opposite direction. Another covered its face. One jumped into a trash bin, and another lay flat on the ground before slowly slipping into an underground pipe. The child looked at them sharply. "Where is Thought?" he asked. The zombies made nervous zombie noises and pointed in different directions, each one trying to avoid his gaze. The child flew up and looked over the city from above. "Is this a new world I created?" he whispered to himself. Then he tore open the space before him and entered another world. This time, he arrived in a green land filled with nature. But something was wrong. The animals and characters there moved like zombies too. They showed no real reaction. They only wandered around lifelessly. The child frowned. He tore open space again and opened another doorway, this time to the fairy world. But when he entered, the fairy world was no longer beautiful. It looked broken and messy. The colors were scattered without harmony, and the once beautiful patterns had lost their order. Everything felt confused, tangled, and empty. The child searched everywhere. "Thought!" he shouted. "Where are you?" But Thought did not appear. He kept tearing open doorways to other worlds and entering them, searching for Thought. One after another, he passed through the dinosaur world, the galaxy world, the city world, the fairy world, and many others. But every world was in disorder. Nothing felt right. Even the dream paralysis world was empty. The child did not understand what was happening. Then, at last, he remembered the castle dream. He tore open another doorway and entered that world. But the beautiful castle had changed. Its grand interior no longer felt noble or peaceful. It felt like the terrifying castle of an evil lord from a dark movie. The elegant designs and patterns on the walls had twisted into frightening shapes. The tall columns rising from the floor to the ceiling were covered with dark, scary markings, faces of wolves, crows, and strange shadowed creatures. The beautiful trees that had once stood inside the castle were gone. In their place were crooked witch forest trees, dry and twisted like claws. The child walked slowly through the wide main corridor until he reached the door to the great hall. The door was enormous and tall, with two heavy panels, one on the left and one on the right. The child swallowed quietly. Then he opened the door carefully. Inside, he saw a guardian angel, but not the kind he had imagined before. This one looked like an evil angel, with a terrifying face and a dark, powerful presence. Then the child looked to the left. There, inside a cage, was Dream Thought. "Child, get out of here," Dream Thought cried. "Silence," the dark guardian angel commanded. The child looked around the ruined hall, then looked back at Thought. "What happened to my dream worlds?" he asked. "Why are they all in a mess, and what happened to you?" The dark guardian angel smiled. "I happened," he said. Then he laughed loudly, and the sound echoed through the castle. Dream Thought gripped the bars of the cage. "Wake up," he shouted. "Wake up and find out what happened." The child tried to run, but the dark guardian angel stretched out his hand, and an invisible force seized the child from a distance. The child froze in midair, unable to move. With a sharp motion, the guardian threw him into another cage on his right side. Then the guardian angel rose from his burning throne and slowly walked down the steps. Each step was heavy. The floor trembled beneath him, and a deep sound echoed through the hall. He turned and looked at the child, then at Dream Thought. "Ah," he said with a cruel smile. "Now I have the child and his thought together. There is no one left to stop me." Suddenly, the dark guardian began to dance like a ridiculous fool. A strange, silly tune started playing. A band of skeletons and tiny evil creatures appeared from the shadows, playing drums, horns, and broken little instruments. For a short time, the guardian danced with foolish movements, twisting, hopping, and spinning in the middle of the terrifying hall. Then he suddenly stopped. "Enough," he said. The music ended at once. He looked at the child and continued, "I have already thrown your dream worlds into disorder. Now it is time to turn them into mine. I will build my own worlds, worlds filled with darkness and evil." Then he whistled. From nowhere, a black horse leaped into the hall. Its mane and tail burned with dark fire, and smoke rose from its hooves. The guardian angel climbed onto the horse's back. With one powerful jump, the horse flew upward, carrying him out of the castle and into the dark sky. Only a few evil creatures remained behind to guard the child and Dream Thought. The child gripped the bars of his cage. "How did this happen?" he asked. Dream Thought shook his head. "I do not know. He appeared from nowhere and began changing the dream creatures into evil creatures." "What should we do?" the child asked. "I do not know," Dream Thought said. "First, you need to wake up and find out what happened. This began while you were awake." One of the evil guards laughed. "You cannot wake up," it said with a wicked grin. "This cage prevents it." To wake himself from such a deep dream, the child needed to disturb his body by shaking it, but inside the cage he could not move. For a moment, both he and Dream Thought became silent. Their faces grew sad. Then Dream Thought leaned closer and whispered, "You cannot wake up while you are trapped in this cage, but you still have the power to control the dream. Can you create something that can get you out?" The child's eyes suddenly became clear. "Oh," he said softly. The guards were watching him carefully, without looking away even for a second. So the child created a master key behind a tall column where the guards could not see it. The key was strange. Its head was not stable. It kept changing shape again and again. Then the child gave the key tiny legs. "When I send you a sign through my mind," the child told it silently, "run to me." The key nodded. Then, using his mind, the child created a loud noise in the main corridor behind the great door. The guards jumped in surprise and turned toward the door. "What was that?" One of them growled. They walked toward the door and slowly opened it to check outside. Inside his mind, the child gave the signal. "Now, run." The key ran as fast as it could toward the child's cage. The key jumped toward the lock, but the lock was too high. The key was too small to reach it. Quickly, the child created wings for it. The key flew upward, pushed its changing head into the keyhole, and began shifting into every possible shape. The guards looked back. They saw the flying key trying to open the lock. With angry cries, they rushed toward the cage, raising their javelins. "Hurry!" the child whispered. The key changed its head faster and faster. Then, at last, the lock clicked. The cage door opened. The child jumped out and smiled with a strange, fearless expression. "Hello, little creatures," he said. "This is your god." The evil guards froze, their faces filled with fear and guilt. "Run!" one of them shouted, but before they could escape, the child turned them into tiny mice. Then he looked back at the master key. The key was sitting on the floor, panting heavily. It looked tired and swollen from all its effort. The child ran toward Dream Thought's cage and tried to unlock it, but Dream Thought shook his head. "Do not waste time," he said. "Wake up, find out what caused this mess." The child nodded. More little evil creatures heard the noise from outside and came scurrying into the chamber, snarling as they rushed toward the child. With a calm wave of his hand, The child transformed the creatures into tiny mice once again. He shook his dream body with all his strength. Then he woke up. He was back in his bed, but his headache was still there. His mind was still crowded with messy thoughts and questions, rising and falling without his control. Then he noticed something. All the questions circling in his head were only thoughts. They were appearing by themselves without his permission. "Why are these thoughts arising without my control?" he whispered. He got out of bed and had a talk with his father. "Dad," he said, "my head is full of thoughts. They keep appearing and disappearing by themselves, whether I want them or not." His father looked at him gently and said, "That is common." The child frowned. "How is that common? What do you mean?" "Well," his father said, "many people experience this. When they worry about work, money, family, beauty, reputation, or the future, their minds become full of thoughts. Some people also regret things they did in the past. All of this creates stress, and stress can even cause headaches." His father paused. "Actually, this mostly happens to adults. It does not usually happen so strongly to little children like you." "Why?" the child asked. "Because children usually do not carry too many thoughts yet," his father said. "They mostly play, explore, and enjoy life." Then his father looked at him carefully and said, "Tell me, what thoughts are troubling you?" The child lowered his eyes. "Dad," he said with a sad face, "I do not know where to start. I have too many questions. I really want to understand them, but they are too many." His father became curious. "Maybe I can help you," he said. "Can you tell me a little more?" The child shook his head. "That information itself is the cause of my headache," he said. "And it is not only one thing, it is too much to understand at once." His father thought for a moment. "Okay," he said gently. "How about tonight we watch television together and listen once more to what the author of the book says about these things?" The child looked at him quietly. "Okay," he said. The child and his father watched the author's speech on TV carefully. This time, the author was speaking about how to calm the mind and let messy thoughts dissolve. "Thought becomes messy when the mind follows it," the author said. "But when the mind only notices thought without reacting to it, thought returns to its own place." The father said gently, "It looks like you have many questions in your mind. Each question is a separate thought. When you have many questions, you also have many different thoughts. But instead of looking at them one by one, you are trying to think about all of them at once. Your mind keeps following one thought after another, and because you keep giving attention to them, they do not dissolve. That is why your head feels busy, messy, and tired. So I think you should write down all your questions first. Then begin with the first question. Look at it carefully, inquire into it, and try to understand it. After that, move to the next one. Do it one by one. And if other questions arise in your head while you are looking at one question, do not follow them. Just notice that they have appeared, but do not react to them. When you do not feed them with your attention, they may dissolve by themselves. I think this is what the author is trying to tell us." The child nodded at his father. Then he went outside and sat on the grassy ground. He chose only one question and gave his attention to it. He tried to understand it clearly and solve it without following the other thoughts that randomly appeared in his mind. Gradually, his mind became calm. His attention gathered around that single question. Other thoughts still arose, but because he did not follow them or react to them, they slowly dissolved by themselves. He sat in that quiet state for an hour. After an hour, he tried to stand up. His legs, back, and neck felt a little sore from sitting for so long, but his head felt deeply rested, as if he had slept for many days. His mind felt clean, fresh, and clear, as if he had been born that very day. He felt completely sober and peaceful. "Wow," he said softly. "I feel like I just washed my brain clean and made it new again." He went to his bed and lay down with a peaceful mind and a calm face. After sitting on the ground and giving his full attention to one question for an hour, his body felt tired, but his mind felt clear. Soon he fell asleep. Then he woke up again, but this time he was in the dream world, lying in his own dream bed. He got up, left the room, and climbed to the top of the apartment building. From there, he looked down at the main square of the city, the same place where he had fought the zombies before. But now the square was filled with thousands of evil creatures. Zombies crowded the ground, and many other dark creatures moved among them. Above them, fiery creatures flew through the air, their bodies burning as they circled the sky. The whole square looked like an army of nightmares. The child stared down in shock. It seemed that the dark dream angel had brought all his evil armies into the main square. A strange, creepy smile slowly appeared on his face. His fists burst into fire and his eyes began to glow. End of part 1. But the dream is not over. If you liked the story, subscribe and share. You can also buy the book from Amazon.com.